The low thrum of the bespoke server rack in my home office was a constant, almost meditative companion. For me, Caleb Vance, a 34-year-old lead cybersecurity architect for a global tech conglomerate based in Seattle, it was the sound of order, of systems diligently guarding digital fortresses. My professional life was a symphony of precision, a world of complex algorithms and impenetrable firewalls. It demanded absolute truth, unwavering vigilance, and an almost intuitive ability to spot the most minute anomaly. Ironically, these were the very skills that would ultimately dismantle the meticulously constructed illusion of my personal life. My son, Leo, was the sun in my universe. At 5 years old, his laughter was a melody that could chase away any shadow. His boundless energy, a reminder of life's vibrant possibilities. He was all curiosity and joy, a miniature explorer of our beautifully designed home. My wife, Lena, was the very foundation of that universe. At 32, she was an artist, running a prestigious interior design firm, Aura Studios, specializing in bespoke, high-concept installations for Seattle's elite. Her auburn hair, a cascade of fire under the soft glow of our living room lights, framed emerald eyes that held a captivating depth, a promise of shared passion and unbreakable sincerity. We had built a life that felt perfectly symmetrical, my grounded rationality balancing her artistic whimsy. Our home, a minimalist masterpiece perched on the cliffs overlooking Puget Sound, was her creation, a space of glass and warm wood filled with natural light and an impressive collection of abstract art. It was, I believed, a sanctuary of shared dreams. The first tremor, a barely perceptible crack in the flawless facade, appeared 2 months ago. Lena had taken Leo to an exclusive private viewing of a new client's collection, a sprawling estate nestled deep in the wooded hills outside Redmond. I was tethered to my desk, wrestling with a particularly stubborn data breach at work. When they returned, the usual boisterous energy that followed Leo vanished. Lena's effervescent chatter was replaced by a strange, brittle silence. Leo, who normally greeted me with a running hug and a torrent of excited tales, merely clung to Lena's leg, his small face pale and withdrawn, his bright eyes wide and strangely hollow. "Hey, little man," I said, crouching down, trying to meet his gaze. "How was the art?" He didn't respond. No smile, no nod, just that distant, unseeing stare. Lena offered a tight, strained smile. Too much excitement, I think. So many people, so much noise. He's exhausted. I'd bought it, attributing his quietness to sensory overload. Children sometimes just needed to decompress. But the silence didn't decompress. It settled in. Leo, my talkative, vibrant son, stopped speaking. Completely. It wasn't stubbornness or a phase. It was an absolute, terrifying muteness. He would communicate through gestures, soft whines of distress, or tight squeezes of my hand. But no words. Not a single sound passed his lips. The days blurred into an agonizing blur of specialist appointments, endless tests, and whispered consultations. Physically, Leo was perfectly healthy. Psychologically, the consensus was selective mutism, often a profound response to a traumatic event. But what trauma? Lena was as outwardly distraught as I was, her eyes frequently brimming with tears as she watched our silent son. Yet, a disquieting dissonance began to hum beneath her sorrow. Her grief, while visible, felt controlled. There was a practiced quality to her embraces, a subtle shift in her vocal tone that my trained ear picked up. My own intuition, honed by years of sniffing out digital discrepancies, began to prickle. I started noticing the small, almost imperceptible shifts in Lena's routine. Her phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now always clutched in her hand or face down on a surface. Calls were taken in hushed tones behind closed doors, her voice dropping to an almost inaudible whisper if I entered the room. When I asked about the gallery event, her answers were vague, almost evasive. Just a typical, bustling launch, she'd insisted, her gaze flicking away. My cybersecurity training screamed, red flag. This was the behavioral pattern of someone concealing something, someone trying to obscure a digital footprint. Was I projecting my work onto my home life? The thought was nauseating. Could the woman I loved, the mother of my child, be lying to me? One rain-swept Tuesday evening, Lena claimed she had an urgent client dinner to secure a major commission. Leo was finally asleep, exhausted by another day of silent struggle. The house was oppressively quiet. The only sound, the rhythmic drumming of rain against the vast glass panels. I was restless, the silence amplifying my anxieties. My gaze drifted to Lena's sleek tablet, sitting on its charging dock on her desk. A cold, sharp certainty sliced through my professional ethics. I needed to look, not out of malice, but out of a desperate, primal need to understand what had stolen my son's voice. My fingers, usually so precise on a keyboard, trembled slightly as I picked up the device. It was protected by a simple numerical passcode. I tried our anniversary date, followed by Leo's birth year. It clicked open. A wave of profound guilt washed over me, immediately followed by the searing image of Leo's vacant eyes. The guilt evaporated. My son was suffering. If Lena was the cause, I needed to know. I navigated her apps, starting with her secure messaging platforms, then her email, then her cloud storage. Most of it was mundane e-design drafts, vendor invoices, invitations to art shows. But then, deep within a rarely used, almost archaic messaging app, one not commonly known outside niche circles, I found it. A series of messages meticulously deleted, but not meticulously enough for someone with my level of expertise. Deleted data, like shadows, always leaves a trace on the digital canvas. I began to reconstruct them, pulling fragments from server caches, piecing together the ghost conversations. My breath hitched, catching in my throat. The sender, Marcus Thorne. The last name sent a jolt of icy fear through me. Was it a cruel coincidence? A distant relative? The content of the messages, however, left no room for doubt. They were sickeningly intimate, filled with whispered endearments, plans for a new life, and a chilling disdain for me. "He's completely oblivious, my love," Lena's text read, her words burning themselves into my retina. "Still talking about future vacations while we build ours." And Marcus's replies, "Soon, darling. Soon we'll have everything and be free of the dead weight." The tablet felt like a block of ice in my trembling hands, its sleek surface now a canvas for my unfolding nightmare. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated, cold-blooded conspiracy. They were planning something that involved my money, my future, and worst of all, Leo. A message from Marcus, sent just days after the gallery event, hit me like a physical blow. "The kid saw something, Lena, at the gallery. You need to handle it. He can't speak." My world fractured. Leo hadn't just been overwhelmed. He had been a witness. A witness to what? My blood ran cold, a silent scream trapped in my chest. The client dinner, the hushed calls, Leo's inexplicable silent sight all clicked into place with horrifying, grotesque clarity. This was an orchestrated betrayal, a meticulously planned scheme designed to rob me of everything. The rage that surged through me was a roaring inferno, hotter than anything I'd ever known, threatening to consume me whole. But years of professional discipline kicked in. This wasn't the time for emotional breakdown. This was the time for precise, surgical action. Over the next few weeks, I became a phantom in my own home. I maintained the facade of the grieving, confused husband, while secretly transforming my home office into a sophisticated command center. I deployed advanced monitoring tools to Lena's devices, established secure, untraceable communication lines, and began a deep dive into her finances. My expertise in financial forensics, honed by years of untangling corporate fraud, became my primary weapon. I followed the digital breadcrumbs, tracing transactions, analyzing data packets, unearthing the true purpose of Aura Studios. Lena's interior design firm, ostensibly a legitimate business, was a sophisticated front for a vast money laundering operation. Her exclusive art installations and high-value commissions were intricate mechanisms to funnel illicit funds through legitimate-looking transactions, legitimizing dirty money before spiriting it away to offshore accounts. Marcus Thorne, I discovered, was not a relative or an innocent bystander. He was a notorious financial ghost, a shadowy figure with a history of orchestrating elaborate fraud schemes across the globe, constantly changing identities, operating behind layers of shell corporations. He was the mastermind. Lena, my wife, was his willing, greedy accomplice. The Thorne last name was a cruel twist, a bitter irony. He had been a peripheral figure in a case I had tangentially worked on years ago, a name on a watch list that never quite escalated. He had clearly remembered me, remembered my line of work, and now he was systematically trying to take everything I held dear. I uncovered a sprawling network of shell companies, Onyx Art Holdings, Crimson Canvas Capital, Azure Horizon Financials, all registered in obscure tax havens, all routing funds through complex, untraceable transactions designed to baffle even seasoned investigators. The common thread was a series of encrypted communications, meticulously time-stamped, linking Lena and Marcus. They were moving tens of millions, not just my personal wealth and inheritance, but vast sums from other illicit activities, washing it through Lena's art and preparing to vanish to start a new life of unimaginable opulence, leaving Leo and me to face the wreckage. The audacity, the sheer cold calculation of their plan was breathtaking. The art installation where Leo had seen something, it was an invitation-only event at a sprawling, secluded estate in the Olympic Mountains. A reclusive billionaire client, Lena, had called him a patron of avant-garde art. My investigation revealed the billionaire was another one of Marcus's meticulously crafted aliases, a temporary identity for a single high-stakes transaction. My mind raced with chilling possibilities. A massive cash transfer, a clandestine meeting, perhaps even a violent confrontation witnessed by a terrified child. Leo must have seen something profoundly disturbing, some crucial exchange, some act of illicit business that had shocked his fragile mind into silence. My protective instincts flared, a burning need to shield my son from the toxic reality his mother had woven around us. Living under this veil of icy calm was a torment. Every shared meal, every casual touch, every conversation was a meticulously choreographed performance. I would look at Lena, my wife, my partner, and see a stranger, a calculating predator draped in beauty. The betrayal was a festering wound, a systematic dismantling of my reality. The humiliation of being so utterly duped, a cybersecurity expert blind to the enemy within his own home, was a deeper cut than any financial loss. How could I have been so blind, so trusting? How could I have allowed such a meticulously crafted lie to flourish under my own roof? The image of Leo's vacant eyes, the silent suffering of my child, was a constant, searing reminder of the collateral damage of their greed. Then came the turning point, the unexpected catalyst that shattered Leo's silence and propelled my investigation into a new, terrifying phase. It was a dreary Saturday afternoon. The Pacific Northwest rained a relentless drum against the windows. Leo was quietly absorbed in a cartoon in the living room, a rare moment of stillness. I was in the kitchen, scrolling through local news headlines on my tablet, trying to distract myself from the gnawing anxiety. Suddenly, a sharp, choked cry from the living room. It wasn't a word, but a sound of raw, unadulterated fear, followed by guttural sobs that tore at my heart. I rushed in. Leo was on the floor, pointing a trembling finger at the television screen, his small face ashen, eyes wide with terror. On the screen, a breaking news report, a missing person. A man's face, stark and grim in a grainy, hastily pulled photograph. Marcus Thorne. The caption screamed, "Prominent financial consultant vanishes without a trace." The report detailed his disappearance from a remote, luxurious cabin deep in the Olympic National Forest, where he had allegedly been on a business retreat. Leo, my silent son, began to whimper, his small body shaking uncontrollably. He pointed from the television to a specific framed art piece on the wall, a large abstract painting Lena had recently acquired for Aura Studios, its swirling blues and greens seemingly innocuous. Then he whimpered again, pointing a trembling finger at the painting, then at a small, almost invisible detail in the corner of the television screen, a blurred glimpse of the cabin's interior from the news report. He pointed at a faint, familiar pattern on the floor of the cabin in the television image, a distinctive Moroccan tile mosaic, then back to the painting's frame. He let out a strangled cry, a desperate, guttural sound, then collapsed into racking sobs. My heart hammered against my ribs. The painting. Lena had been unusually insistent about its prominent placement. "It adds a certain gravitas to the room, Ethan," she'd explained with a dismissive wave of her hand when I'd questioned its abstract nature. I looked closer at the painting, then at the news report, then back to Leo. He was trying to tell me something about the painting and Marcus Thorne. He had connected the image of Marcus, now missing, with what he had witnessed, and with that specific art piece. I scooped Leo into my arms, holding him tight, whispering reassurances as he cried into my shoulder. My mind, a whirlwind of fear and sudden blinding insight, raced. Marcus Thorne was missing. Leo had seen something at the gallery, something related to Marcus and that specific painting. Could the painting itself be a key? My cybersecurity instincts roared to life. Hidden messages, encoded data. It was my world. Later that night, after Leo had finally cried himself to sleep, exhausted, I carefully removed the large framed painting from the wall. Its weight was deceptive, heavier than it looked. My tools, usually reserved for corporate espionage, were now turned on Lena's art. I meticulously examined the frame, the canvas, even the back of the painting itself. Nothing obvious to the naked eye. But then, an idea, a chilling thought. What if the frame wasn't just a frame? What if it was a custom piece with a secret compartment? My hands, steady and precise, began to probe the intricate wooden frame, and then a small click. Hidden within the thick, ornate frame, cleverly concealed behind a false panel, was a miniature digital voice recorder and a small, encrypted USB drive. My heart pounded a drum solo in my chest. This was it, the truth, in its raw, unvarnished form. I connected the recorder to my laptop, bypassing its minimal encryption with familiar ease. The first audio file was a chilling, extensive conversation. Marcus and Lena, their voices clear and cold, outlining their entire scheme. Their plans to flee, their contempt for me, their absolute disregard for Leo. He's just a loose end, Lena, a witness. He'll get over it, if he even remembers anything. Marcus's voice, devoid of empathy, utterly chilling. He's just a child, Lena's voice, surprisingly flat, betraying no maternal warmth. He'll forget. We just need to make sure he doesn't speak. They discussed the vast sums of money, the intricate network of shell companies, their planned escape to a non-extradition country in the Caribbean. It was all there, laid bare, a grotesque blueprint of their betrayal. Then, another file. This one, shorter, more frantic, recorded just days before the news report. Marcus's voice, agitated, laced with barely contained panic. It's gone wrong, Lena. The transfer. It was intercepted. And the buyer, he's a federal agent. They knew. Someone tipped him off. Lena's panicked whispers, what about the assets? The offshore accounts? My new identity? Marcus's voice, desperate, ragged. We need to disappear, now. I'm going to the cabin. Lie low. You clean up your end, ditch everything traceable. I'll contact you when it's safe. Destroy that painting, don't let anything connect us. And then a third, horrifying recording. Not a conversation, the sounds of a struggle, heavy breathing, a muffled scream, a crash, and then silence, followed by a chilling, disembodied voice, rough and distorted. Marcus Thorne, you're under arrest. You've been under surveillance for months. Your accomplice, Lena Hayes, is next. We have everything. The sound of static, then the recording ended. My blood ran cold, a glacial river through my veins. This wasn't a missing person. Marcus Thorne had been apprehended by federal agents. The struggle was his arrest. The disappearance was simply a strategic cover-up by the authorities to ensure Lena didn't flee, to catch her in the act. And Leo had witnessed it. He had seen Marcus, perhaps during a final frantic visit to the gallery, to hide this very recorder, being apprehended. The child had seen a man, a figure he might have dimly recognized from his mother's clandestine phone calls, taken away by strangers, and the sheer shock had silenced him. The painting's frame, it must have been a dead drop, a place for Marcus to store crucial evidence or tools, unknowingly recording his own downfall. Lena would have been instructed to retrieve it, but fear or carelessness had made her miss it. I then inserted the USB drive. It contained a trove of meticulously organized, highly encrypted financial ledgers. I ran my proprietary decryption algorithms. The data spilled forth, detailed diagrams of their money laundering operations, a list of aliases Marcus had used across the globe, a web of offshore bank accounts, even a video of Marcus, speaking directly to Lena, explaining his entire scheme, instructing her on how to legitimize the funds through the fake art sales. He had been recording himself, meticulously documenting his intricate web of deceit, perhaps as a morbid form of ego, or as a blackmail tool against Lena if she ever betrayed him. Lena, in her haste and panic, had clearly been too distraught or too careless to secure it properly, leaving it in the frame that held the recorder. This was everything, the undeniable, indisputable proof, not just an affair, but a massive criminal enterprise, with my wife as a key, willing participant. The rage was no longer silent. It was a roaring inferno, tempered only by a cold, calculating resolve. My son, my innocent Leo, had been collateral damage in their twisted game. I would not let them win. I would not let them get away with this. I contacted Agent Morales, the name I vaguely recalled from the muffled recording on the voice recorder, through secure, anonymous channels, leveraging my network in cybersecurity. He was initially skeptical, guarded, his voice clipped and professional. But when I began to detail the evidence I possessed, the specific shell companies, the precise offshore account numbers, the very existence of the recorder and its incriminating contents, His tone shifted dramatically. "Mr. Vance," he said, his voice now sharp with professional interest. "I think we need to meet. Immediately." The next day, under the guise of taking Leo to a specialist appointment at a renowned child psychology clinic, I met Agent Morales and a team of federal investigators at a discreet, secure location. I laid out everything: the voice recordings, the USB drive's decrypted contents, my meticulous analysis of Lena's hidden financial activities, the intricate web of deception I had uncovered. Their surprise was palpable. "You've done our job for us, Mr. Vance," Morales admitted, a hint of awe in his voice. "We had Marcus Thorne, yes, but we were still building the case against Lena Hayes and untangling the full scope of their operation. This is a gold mine. This is everything we needed to connect all the dots and bring down their entire network." They confirmed Marcus's arrest and the ongoing, highly classified investigation. The missing person report had been a strategic leak, a psychological tactic designed to pressure accomplices and flush them out. It had worked thanks to Leo's innocent, terrifying eyewitness account. The confrontation with Lena was not dramatic, not in the way Hollywood portrays it. It was clinical, swift, and utterly devoid of emotion on my part. The federal agents moved in with quiet efficiency, executing search warrants, seizing computers, financial documents, and Lena's carefully curated art collection. Lena, returning from another fabricated client meeting, walked into a scene of organized chaos. Her emerald eyes, usually so captivating, widened in shock, then narrowed in a desperate, animalistic fury as she saw the agents, then me, standing impassively amidst the wreckage of her lies. "Caleb, what have you done?" she shrieked, her voice cracking, her facade finally shattering, exposing the raw, ugly truth beneath. I simply looked at her, my voice flat, devoid of any warmth, any recognition of the woman I once loved. I protected my son, Lena, something you clearly never intended to do. And I brought the truth to light, something you spent years burying, hoping it would stay hidden forever. She was arrested on multiple counts of money laundering, conspiracy to commit fraud, and accessory to Marcus Thorne's vast illicit activities. The local news exploded. Prominent Seattle designer busted in multi-million-dollar art fraud scheme. Her carefully curated life, her beautiful lie, unraveled in the harsh glare of public scrutiny. Her high society clients were outraged, her reputation irrevocably destroyed. She faced decades in federal prison. Marcus Thorne, already in custody, faced even stiffer penalties. His vast criminal empire exposed and dismantled thanks to the meticulous digital footprints he and Lena had left behind. The divorce was swift, uncontested. With the overwhelming evidence of her financial crimes and the direct link to Leo's trauma, Lena lost everything: her firm, her assets, her freedom, and any claim to our home or our son. The judge, grim-faced, granted me full custody of Leo and substantial restitution from any recoverable assets. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about justice, about reclaiming our lives, about setting the record straight for Leo's sake. The aftermath was a period of intense rebuilding, a reconstruction not just of our home, but of our fractured souls. Leo, with Lena's removal from his life and consistent patient therapy, slowly began to speak again. His first word, after months of agonizing silence, was "Daddy." It was a whisper, fragile as spun glass, but it was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. My heart, which had been a frozen wasteland for months, began to thaw, a surge of overwhelming love and relief washing over me. He began to piece together what he had seen: Marcus, frantic, hiding something in the painting's frame, then being violently taken away by strangers in dark suits. His child's mind, unable to process the adult world of crime and betrayal, had simply shut down as a defense mechanism. With time, and with patient, consistent support from dedicated therapists and from me, he slowly processed the trauma, finding his voice and his laughter once more. Professionally, the case, despite its immense personal cost, inadvertently bolstered my reputation in the cybersecurity and financial forensics community. My ability to uncover such an intricate, deeply personal fraud earned me a new level of respect among my peers and potential clients. My firm even established a new digital asset protection and fraud investigation division, with me at its head, specializing in helping high net worth individuals and corporations safeguard their wealth and their personal data from sophisticated scams, predatory relationships, and internal fraud. I was turning my pain into purpose, transforming personal agony into professional mastery, dedicating my skills to preventing others from suffering the same fate. I found a new sense of drive, a quiet satisfaction in protecting others from the very devastation I had endured. It was a form of justice, a way to ensure no other child would endure what Leo had. I sold the house Lena had designed, its walls echoing with hollow memories, its once vibrant spaces now feeling cold and alien, tainted by her lies. It was beautiful, but it was no longer home. I bought a smaller, modern loft in a vibrant, artistic neighborhood closer to Leo's new school in Seattle. Its industrial aesthetic, a stark contrast to the old world charm of the previous house, but perfectly suited to my new sense of independence. My therapist, a kind and insightful woman named Dr. Anya Sharma, helped me understand that while I had been a victim of fraud, I was not defined by it. She guided me through the labyrinth of grief, anger, and shame, helping me reclaim my narrative and rebuild my trust, first in myself, then in the possibility of genuine connection. She emphasized that my inherent value had never been compromised by Lena's actions. Only my perception of it had been skewed. "You didn't lose yourself, Caleb," she'd explain gently. "You found a stronger, more discerning version." "Trust is earned, Caleb," Dr. Sharma would often say, her voice calm and reassuring. "But vigilance is a learned skill. You have both now. Don't let one painful experience close you off to the possibility of genuine connection. The key is discernment, not cynicism. You learn to read the subtle cues, to listen to your intuition, to understand that not everyone has malicious intent, but some do. And you're now equipped to spot the difference, to protect yourself and your son without living in fear." Her words resonated deeply, slowly chipping away at the thick, protective walls I had unconsciously erected around my heart. My relationship with Leo deepened profoundly. We spent countless hours together, rebuilding his trust in the world and the safety of our bond. We explored the city's hidden parks, built towering Lego castles that often collapsed in fits of giggles, and read bedtime stories until my voice was hoarse. Every smile, every laugh, every question he asked, every new word he learned was a victory, a precious gift that reaffirmed the profound beauty of our connection. I was learning to be a single father, navigating the challenges with a fierce, unwavering love that had only grown stronger through adversity. His small hand in mine, his trusting gaze, was all the validation I needed, a constant reminder of what truly mattered. My life wasn't a fairy tale ending, not in the simplistic sense, but it was real. It was built on honesty, on hard-won experience, and on the profound realization that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the integrity of one's character, the authenticity of one's connections, and the unwavering love for your child. I was a man who had faced the deepest betrayal and emerged, not unscathed, but unbroken. I had learned that sometimes the most devastating betrayals come not from strangers, but from those we invite into the innermost chambers of our lives, those who exploit our love and trust for their own selfish gain. But from that pain, we can forge something stronger, something more resilient, a wisdom that protects us from future deceptions and empowers us to live more authentically. My journey had been a crucible, melting away the dross of naivete and replacing it with the steel of wisdom. It was a testament to resilience and a reminder that while some people are worth the risk, others are not. The trick I had learned was to become discerning, to listen to your instincts, and to always trust your own wisdom first. The pain had been immense, but the lessons learned were invaluable, shaping me into a stronger, wiser, and more complete version of myself, a man who truly understood the meaning of integrity. For anyone who has felt the sting of betrayal, who has been left broken by the very people they trusted most, know that your worth is not tied to their deception. Your strength lies in your ability to rise, to rebuild, to learn, and to choose who gets to be a part of your next chapter. Don't let their actions define your future. Instead, let them refine your purpose. Embrace the lessons, heal the wounds, and build a life so authentically aligned with your values that no past darkness can ever overshadow your light. Your resilience is your truest inheritance, your integrity, your greatest asset, and the peace you find in living your truth is a treasure no one can ever steal.